Donc, bonjour tout le monde, j'espère que ça va bien. Mon nom est Rick de la plateforme Boxing Club. Hi everyone, I hope you're good. My name is Rick on the Boxing Club platform. We're going to talk, with Michael Angelo Serra. My name is Rick Amel, and we are in the London-Montreal boxing show with Michael Angelo Serra and Rick Amel. We're going to talk, about the fight, the results of the fights between Oleksandr Usyk against Mr. Daniel Dubois. Okay, so Michael, he's going to talk with me about it. Okay, so Michael is a passionate man. Okay, so it's very hard to cut his conversation, the conversation, because he's a passionate man and he likes to explain. So. I like it. Yeah, he's a gentleman. I like this man, and we're going to talk together, about this fight, okay? And we're going to talk about also a little bit, Tyson Fury, a little bit Anthony Joshua, okay? And maybe we will see a fight, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. We don't know, but we will see. We will see that, and we're going to have maybe a fight, with Usyk and Joe Parker. We don't know, okay? We will see that. So we're going to talk together, Michael Angelo Serra and myself, Rick Amel, from the London-Montreal boxing show, in London and in Montreal, So I hope you will enjoy this conversation, boxing fans. So that's it. How are you, Michael? And we're going to talk together. How are you? Okay, by the way.
3.5, whatever it was. Okay. Should we? Yeah. Yeah, he was never threatened to be stripped.
Continue.
Yeah, the only time Mike was sort of like put into a corner was when the IBF ordered him to possibly fight in a rematch against Trevor Berbick from Canada, the Jamaican,
yes,
born Canadian. And that was the only time. But then Berbick went on to lose to Carl Williams in an eliminator on the Tyson Spink show back in '88. And then he's basically he sort of came back, boxed on the Tyson Bruno Bull in February 1989, the first fight between Bruno and Tyson. And he boxed James Buster Douglas, whatever happened to him. And, then basically Berbick lost that. And then he pretty much faded from the world scene, so to speak. And then obviously the unthinkable happened in Japan the following February. But no, Mike was never threatened by these governing bodies. But I believe Marvin Hagler, obviously, as you know, was undisputed middleweight champ for 6.5 years. He was threatened about 100 times, and he was forced to fight guys like who had beaten already with ease, like Fulgencio Obiamiaz, Venezuelan, who went on to win a WBA super middle back in the 80s, and Mustafa Hamsho. And he beat them in double quick time, second time round. So it just shows you that, making these undisputed champions fight certain guys who they're beaten already, like Tyson Berbick again. Mike had, beaten him in 2 rounds. What was there to prove? But again, this is where it's all about money, it comes down to, and sanctioning fees. And this is where fighters like Mr. Usyk are put into awkward situations and awkward position. It's like Michael Spinks back in 1987. He had the IBF World Heavyweight title, and he was given a choice to fight on the Tyson Pinkland Thomas show in May of '89, make a defense against Tony TNT Tucker, or fight Jerry Cooney for mega bucks. And obviously, it's a no-brainer. Of course he's going to fight Cooney. So they stripped him of the IBF. I don't believe he vacated. He was stripped. But so that's a similar thing with Usyk and Fury. Usyk, instead of fighting Dubois a second time last year, obviously he had to go for Fury. He had to, because that's where the money is. And, that's what people were going to pay for.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Unification. Yeah.
But, the Wembley Stadium, it's a very good place, and it's made history, It's made history, this place, and you was very happy inside. You look like very happy, it's a
Yeah.
very good place. And if I can allow you something, do you want to talk about the fight, Usyk and Dubois, the results?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, getting to Wembley, it was a lot easier than I anticipated. Because usually it's quite an awkward journey. There's always delays, and there was getting there, but coming home was a lot more easier. But getting there, I mean, there weren't many fans actually entering the stadium to begin with, and when I actually got into the stadium, the stadium was quite empty. I mean, and it never
Oh,
really
yes.
started to fill up until the fight, Lawrence Okolie, when he fought on the show, the fight before the main event, and that's when it filled up. But the undercard was quite rather devoid of any real action. I mean, they weren't. It wasn't a particularly good undercard. It was quite boring. One fight that I must say, and I can't remember who it was between now, but it was a strange. It was a strange scenario because after the fourth round, they waved it off the corner. So, they called corner retirement. But
Yes.
when the ring announcer announced it, he said the corner have sorry, the corner have retired their fighter 2 seconds into the fifth round. And I just thought to myself, that's not possible because he never actually come out for the bell, and then 2 seconds into that fifth round, it didn't happen. So that was kind of strange. But Okolie, getting to the Lawrence Okolie fight, it was like a WBC silver heavyweight championship, and Okolie for me he's a former world champion at
Yeah.
cruiserweight, but I don't think he's going to do much at heavyweight. He looked very flabby. Well, not flabby, but he didn't look in particularly good shape, because he's kind of a string bean type of fighter when he was a cruiser. But he's put on quite a bit of timber. He's like 240 pounds, which is a lot of, it's a big heavyweight, but he's just not really, he didn't look sculpted. He's a good boxer. He's got a lovely left hand, and he seemed to win the fight. But again, the thing with Lawrence Okolie is he is a bit dull to watch. He's a guy who goes in there, gets the win, and that's it. But I suppose end of the day, as long as you're getting the win, that's the main thing.
Okay, sorry, Michael, but it's remember me, Andy Ruiz, against Anthony Joshua. He was not skinny, this guy. He was chubby a little bit, and
Yeah,
he won this fight against
yeah,
Anthony Joshua. It's mean nothing, the physical, I think.
absolutely.
Isn't
Well,
it?
exactly. I mean, you can look at Tony Tubbs, Tim Witherspoon back in the 80s. Great fighters. I mean, the thing is, just quickly, those fights back in the 80s, a lot of the critics used to say, oh, God, and that dull, boring. But the difference between your Tim Witherspoon and Tony Tubbs compared to some of them today is these guys could really fight. I mean,
Yeah.
really. I mean, Tubbs was a huge guy, but he had very, very fast hands and a great boxer. I mean, he'd done it all. I mean, he'd won the world heavyweight title. Witherspoon was another one, a great world champion. He came over. Funnily enough, he boxed, I believe, but the first ever heavyweight championship of the world at Wembley Stadium, the historic Wembley Stadium, billed as the venue of legends. It is. And it's been about 102 years now, Wembley Stadium, because the first cup final there was between my beloved team, West Ham
Oh,
United, and
yeah.
Bolton
Wow.
in 1923, and that was called the White Horse Final. But Tim Witherspoon defended his World Heavyweight Championship, the WBA version. He just took it off of Tony Tubbs the previous January. This was in the July, and he took on Frank Bruno, and that was the first ever World Heavyweight Championship at Wembley Stadium. But the thing is, also Wembley Stadium is well known for possibly the best punch landed by a British fighter on Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, when Henry Cooper delivered that left hook against Clay.
He was a little bit surprised, Muhammad Ali was surprised by Mr. Henry Cooper,
Oh,
He was on the
absolutely.
floor. He went on the floor, did this gentleman,
He
against
was wobbling
Cooper.
badly. He was really, I mean, they got smelling salts under his nose. And obviously, Dundee cut the glove, apparently, and allegedly, but to buy his man more time. But I always think Clay, as he was known then, would have always survived the cobwebs and won. But that was a fight fought on the 18th of June 1963. But that was not a world title fight. That was a world title eliminator. And they boxed again for the world heavyweight title. But that was at Arsenal's football ground in North London. not Wembley. But yeah, so when Cooper delivered that left hook in 1963, it's the most famous punch, what best punch ever thrown by a British boxer, without a doubt. 7 years later to that day, my mum delivered me to the world. I was born on that day, so. But no, getting to that, so yeah, I mean, it was back in July, of 1986 when Witherspoon first ever World Heavyweight Championship at the legendary Wembley Stadium against Frank Bruno. Then Bruno, he came back yet again, finally won it at Wembley Stadium against Oliver McCall. Frank Bruno did, and obviously Anthony Joshua, he's had quite a few fights there, as in his role as IBF, WBA heavyweight champion. But there's never been an undisputed heavyweight championship of the world boxed at Wembley Stadium, other than the other night. That was the very first time. So, it was nice to be sort of part of history. But, I was sitting there. Yeah, I was sitting there. As I say, my imagination. I mean, the towards the end of the Lawrence Okolie fight, then obviously the stadium filled up, and the fights were devoid of any real action, the undercard, and also atmosphere. There wasn't really much going on. I mean, the only time you got cheers going up was when they showed on the big screen the arrival of Oleksandr, Usyk, and Dubois. But once they, it was buzzing. The anticipation was buzzing, and the atmosphere was electric. It was just amazing. And
they sang, "Oh, Caroline." No,
yeah, absolutely. That's my daughter's name, and I was singing that song. But it was just like just amazing, the atmosphere. And then they came in, and it was an amazing atmosphere. The fight ended, as I say, in the fifth round, as you know.
That's the fifth round, yeah.
Yeah, the first two rounds I gave Usyk clearly.
Oh yes.
But I don't agree with what some people have said about Usyk won every round. I gave rounds 3 and 4 only just. I felt he shaded them to Dubois. But then obviously.
So at the fifth round, you was very surprised when Usyk made a KO on the Dubois.
Yeah, it came a lot earlier than I had anticipated. I thought it was going to be a later round stoppage for Usyk. I did actually say my pre-fight prediction was that Usyk was going to win on points, and he was going to really, put on a punch perfect performance. But no, the first two rounds he did great, and then Dubois, for me personally, maybe people would be watching this thinking, what's Michael talking about? But the third and fourth, I just gave Dubois it. He just shaded it. But one thing I noticed is with Usyk, he's obviously a southpaw. He's a lefty, as the Americans call him. But he does everything from that center of the ring. He does his best work from the center of the ring, and that's where he is very hard to beat. And obviously, with Dubois, he needed to push him back. He needed to get him into them corners, and he had a little bit more success when he did. He shoved him back, and yes, that's not in the rules, but he had to push him back. He had to get inside. You have to rough up a guy like Usyk. He had the size advantage. Dubois, the weight. He's a bigger man. He's a fully fledged heavyweight. He's a natural heavyweight.
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. Usyk, by today's standards, standing amongst the behemoths of the heavyweight division, in the physicality of things, he isn't the biggest of guys. He's 6'3", and what's he weigh? He's 16, 17 stone. That's not a big heavyweight at all by today's standards.
No, but he's very fast and unpredictable.
Exactly, and that's where he pulls it out. And he's the cat. That's what he's known as.
Like a cat. He dances in the ring. He's very powerful. This gentleman, and unpredictable, and he's very dangerous when he was inside. He's very dangerous when he is inside. And Dubois, he's too big. Maybe he's too big against Usyk, I think. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't believe Daniel Dubois would ever beat Oleksandr Usyk in a month of Sundays, let alone though it was fought on a Saturday night. He's just not going to do it. His best chance of victory, as I may have said in one of the interviews, like the videos I did, was you go forward against a guy like that, use your bulk, push it, get in, start unloading, but go to the body, because he hurt him to the body in the first fight. But the thing is, he didn't do that. When he did do it, he had a certain amount of success, and he was getting a little bit more successful. But he kept laying off, and he kept letting Usyk do what he does best: fight from the center of the ring, and claim center ring, and that's what he does best. And then
So sorry for the stoppage, because the software cut our conversation, So between Michael and me, so I think it was a very good conversation, about this fight, Usyk Dubois. So that's it for that. Thank you to see, to watch the London Montreal boxing show with Michael Angelo Serra and Rick Amel, from Boxing WBC. Okay, so thank you, and we will see us for another fight, boxing fans. Thank you. Bye bye.